Good evening, y'all. I just want to do a quick little episode to give an update on the Stephen Smith case. It's not exactly breaking news at this point, but I feel like I need to talk about it because I've been following this case for so long and I've been, giving y'all updates. So I just thought I'd, tell y'all what I have found over the past day or so. Now, I would have gotten to it earlier today, but it's been cold and rainy, and all I've wanted to do is nothing basically. But plus the kids have been out for spring break this week, so it's just been kind of a lazy, crazy week. But anyway, so last week I told y'all that Stephen Smith's body had been exhumed for another autopsy in hopes of getting answers about his cause of death. And you may remember that several times over the past month or so, I've mentioned SLED is investigating this case as a homicide. Well, there's a few more details that have been released about the weekend that Mr. Smith's body was exhumed. Now, that exhumation took place back on March 31st, which was on a Friday. And once, the body was exhumed from the cemetery, it went in the vault that it is. So basically what I'm saying is the vault that contains his remains, it was given a police escort to Tampa, Florida. Now, an attorney that represents the Smith family, his name is Eric Bland, he wouldn't say specifically which private autopsy facility was where they took his body for the autopsy, but he said that a Dr. Dupree, a Dr. Schultz, a Dr. Walsh Haney were the ones who were hired by the Smith family to conduct the autopsy. And after a little research, I found that Dr. Schultz is the founder of Final Diagnosis Incorporated in Tampa, Florida. And according to the Facebook page for Final Diagnosis Incorporated, they provide full autopsy services for cause/manner of death concerns and other services such as postmortem tissue collection. Anyway, the autopsy was performed, and by 3 p.m. on Sunday afternoon, we're talking about almost a week ago now, Stephen had been returned to his grave here in South Carolina. Now, it's been nearly 8 years since Stephen was found deceased on that road in Hampton County, but Bland said that he is confident that the pathologists were able to perform a full and complete autopsy, which included some DNA tests, x-rays, bone analysis, and there was other types of tests that took place. And it's believed that the results of the testing will start coming in to SLED within the week following the autopsy, but it isn't expected for those results to be made immediately available to the public. So who knows when we will hear what they found. Now, another thing that I've seen since my last update is that Dr. Kenny Kinsey, and you may remember him from the Murdaugh murder trial, he told People Magazine and News Nation that the autopsy was a success and that new evidence was found. And I should also note here that Kinsey wasn't present for the autopsy. Even though he is working with the case, he has been brought onto the team to solve this homicide by the Smith family. But he did go on to say that he's very excited about the report that will be coming out soon, and that the pathologists were very upbeat about what they found during the autopsy. Now, this is just my personal thing, but I feel like with Dr. Kinsey on this case, I feel like this is going to be quickly resolved. All the answers are going to come out soon. He really impressed me during his testimony during the Alex Murdaugh murder trial. So the man really knows his stuff. But anyway, now also interesting to note is that some of the evidence that had just mysteriously disappeared in this case, it's been located by SLED. And that found evidence includes that rape kit that I've talked about in the past, Stephen's clothing, and some blue paint chips that were found on Stephen's person. So all that's been found. It had disappeared, but SLED has found it. Now, also, I want to say that, what comes out of all of this remains to be seen. And, like I mentioned Dr. Kinsey earlier, going on, what he has said, I believe it will be big news when it is released. Because remember how Dr. Kinsey was just on point with everything during that trial, like I just said a few minutes ago, but I really believe he helped seal that deal, or seal the fate of, the outcome of that trial. So I feel like the same is going to go with this investigation into Stephen's death, because I feel like Dr. Kinsey is going to get the answers that we're all wanting, for all those questions. But like I said, I am glad that he's on this case along with everybody else that's working on it. So it sounds like to me that they've got a really good team putting together, and they're going to finally get this all solved. Now, I know this sounded like a mumbled up mess, but when I just kind of go commando, I guess you could say, without really writing out my thoughts, it just usually comes out that way. But anyway, as soon as more information gets released on this case, I'll be back with a new update. And in the meantime, be sure to check out my social media pages for extras. Especially, there's a lot of extra stuff on TikTok that just doesn't come out on the podcast. But anyway, y'all have a good evening. And you can find the links for my social media accounts in the podcast episode description. So y'all have a good night.